allocate their budgets in. So এই চিন্তাটার ভিতর থেকে শুরু করেই আসলে we started thinking যে we should actually teach our students more about digital marketing, and as a result, you know, last semester আমরা digital marketing course একটা introduce করেছি, and আমাদের Ivan sir is one of our core faculty members who's actually teaching the course. So ওইটার মানে কি বলবো, ওইটার continuation হিসেবেই we were thinking of organizing a session on brand management basically in the digital era. So we are extremely honored and we're extremely happy to host me and Omar. We are co-hosts today, and we're extremely happy to host Google Business Group Sonarga, who has also brought in a couple of speakers here from the industry who actually practices digital marketing, who actually practices marketing today in the real world. So আমাদের মধ্যে আছেন Google Business Group থেকে Rafi bhai, and then SN bhai, and then from the industry we have Tarek bhai and Rabir bhai, এবং আমাদের একাডেমিয়া থেকে আছেন আমাদের প্রাণপ্রিয় শিক্ষক সাকিব ভাই, যে কিনা গতকালকে রাত্রে একটা 200 ওয়ার্ডের স্ট্যাটাস দিয়েছে যে কেউ তার নাম ঠিকমতো বলতে পারে না। ঠিকমতো বলছি? ভেরি গুড। আচ্ছা, সো উইদাউট ফার্দার অ্যাডু আমি সবচেয়ে প্রথমে ইনভাইট করব এসএন ভাইকে, জিবিজিএস গুগল বিজনেস গ্রুপ সোনারগাঁর পক্ষ থেকে, টু কাম আপ অ্যান্ড ইন্ট্রোডিউস হোয়াট।
Thank you, Navinapu, and thank you NSU and Business and Economics Department for hosting us. Basically, I'm going to talk about Google Business Group. Before that, let me introduce myself. First of all, we are none of the community managers are paid by Google. We are voluntarily working on this community. And we, apart from the events we organize, we have been communicating with the Google Business Group global entities that how we can bring some good to the industry, especially in digital industry. So let me introduce Google Business Group. It's a like-minded entrepreneurs community where we help help the community to build relationship with other marketers, industry experts, learn from them, and implement that into their business. They're basically our mission is to help getting the entrepreneurs online and until they get success. Okay. And usually we help them with the Google technologies, and apart from that, if they want any type of help, we try to bring the experts and try to organize events like this and make them learn about the technologies. How do we do it? First of all, we have phased out these exercises in 4 types. First of all, we help them to start their business or bring their business into online. Secondly, we help them how they can bring more users to their online business. So it can be a website, apps, or anything. And then we help them to learn how to analyze their behaviors, user behaviors, on their online portals or apps, and that's called Engage. And today's session will be focused on Engage part only. That how first of all we will be focusing on brand management, then marketing and analytics. Okay. And end of the year, each year we organize one Google Business Group story search, where success stories from around the world actually shared on a platform. And this 3 of the most our best businesses get recognized, and they are sent to Google head office, where they are being taught about the businesses and they are being mentored by the Google experts. Okay. And there are more than, these are few of the events which actually happening around the world. And we have over 90 chapters in the world, and mainly the Southeast Asia is the strongest part of the GBG community, and we have around 46 communities in Southeast Asia only. And Dhaka is the only city which actually hosts two different chapters. One is GBG Dhaka and GBG Sutranagar. Okay, and first of all, I thank you all for attending this session, and we are hiring interns for our GBG. So there is a email address, you can send your CV there. Please mention GBG internship in the subject line. Okay. It's Rafiul, R-A-F-I-U-L, R-A-J-U, Rafiul, Raju, at gmail.com. And Rafiul is the magician of our community, who actually makes everything possible in any given time. So, and one more, there is two more community managers. One is Narmin Apu himself, and he has joined recently. And there is another guy called Shati. He is basically traveling and for a business purpose, and hopefully you will get to see him on next events. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much, SMI. So basically, GBG, SMI Bolton is just a community that actually wants to empower people in terms of how technology can help people do things better. So we're going to be seeing that from a very functional perspective, from a brand manager's perspective. And the way we've designed the session today, we're going to start off with a general brand management session, then we're going to move into digital marketing, how that actually helps brand management, and then we're going to move into a little bit technical area where we're going to see how you can use Google Analytics in order to get information that can help you make or take decisions. So as our very first speaker, may I call upon Mr. Tariq to actually give you an overview regarding how brand management actually occurs in the real world. Mr. Tariq is actually the head of communications for Beximco, and I'd like to actually invite Omar as well to give a brief introduction about Tariq.
Well, hi people. Thank you for coming, and I think some of you have sacrificed your weekend for that.
Yes.
I'm not going to be here for very long. I can see some places, oh, why he is again. You know the Tariq Bhai. Tariq Bhai, I mean, I have been with him for very long. What Tariq Bhai is going to talk about here, as you can understand from what Narmin Apu just said, there has been a transition. I think both of us talk about that transition in our classes very much, and we couldn't focus more on that. Now, the kind of framework you have in your mind about brand management, brand equity, customer-based brand equity model, in the corporate, the things are a little different, because you will see that they do improvise, because their works are a bit different. What you are here for today, as I have told you before, is to find that connection where theories are in practice. Tariq Bhai's discussion, I'm hoping is going to be interesting, because I used to listen to him. He is an example of this transition. He has seen how brands are being managed in the traditional way, using the mass media exposure, and now the digital. He also has seen the transition. He will talk about that. So you're privileged to get as much as possible from him, and give him hard time with the questions if you have any. So no one is happier to welcome Tariq Abdullah Al-Munir.
I think the sort of accolades given to me was a bit too generous, to be honest. Just to give you a brief perspective, he's absolutely right, and so is Narmi when she says, you know, this game that we're having right now is, how do traditional marketers who've been operating in a certain way adapt themselves to what is happening right now, and more importantly, how are the two operating together to create the next generation, next wave of new marketing practices. It's not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2 or 1 + 1 = 3. We talk about synergy. So what I'll try to do is sort of take some feedback from me as we go along, because this presentation is structured in a certain way, but in this day and age, the one thing that doesn't exist is structure. Structure actually makes very little sense. What really drives everything in the market right now are principles. Principles of how you operate, principles of how you behave, what is your mindset, what is your vision. Those principles are actually what drives people, cultures within an organization, entrepreneurs, etc., etc. So the structure we're going to show you, or sort of I'm going to touch upon, is not necessarily something that is hard cast in stone. But what it does, it lets an organization come from those principles and really make some effective plans that 9 times out of 10 would probably succeed. Okay? But as we go along, first thing that I would like to do before I move into this presentation is give me 1 or 2 very critical questions that's on top of your head. Are you all marketing majors, or do you have other majors in your mind? Double major, triple major? All marketing? Yeah. You have? Yes? Sorry? Double major. So what is the second major you choose? Finance? International business? Supply chain management? Fantastic. Human resource management? Good. The reason I'm asking is that, so these are sort of 2 different disciplines, it seems, right? Marketing, HR, and marketing, supply chain. They don't really, in strictest terms, because there's you have different majors, ideally that would mean that these are all completely separate disciplines. In other words, if you read brand management, you know that brand architecture, let's say the brand architecture of North-South University is focused on, let's say, business and economics. Then you have probably science, you have tech, you have computer engineering, etc., etc. So that's how the brand architecture is established. Going forward, one of the things that you'll see happening, even in the education space, is that these sort of demarcations would make absolutely no sense. Because you'll see cross-merging of industries, cross-merging of disciplines. So one of the very positive things that you can do right now as you go along is not really think of yourself as a marketer, or let's say a finance expert, or a sort of ACCA. You need to think about, as a holistic package, what are you? And that is your sort of brand and identity. And we'll be talking about some of this and how some of the business that I've been involved in is actually taking that onto the stride. So 2 critical questions I'd like to sort of for you to think as we go along. Okay. One, and this is very important, is digital marketing the only way forward? Okay. So this is one. Just keep in mind as we go along this discussion, because a lot of the discussions we're going to touch upon is traditional, but you'll be also seeing a lot of digital marketing expertise and experience coming through. The second thing I would like to ask you is, how much of sort of predictability is success in marketing? I mean, can you really predict success in marketing? Do metrics actually do justice? Can you actually measure success and failure in marketing, or is it something that you learn over time as we go along? So I'm going to share some of the insights, and I'd like you to come back with questions from me, really hard questions like Nasif said as we go along, just to keep me on my toes, okay? So basically this framework was given to me by Nasif, and I'd like to thank him for that. Otherwise I would usually have a very creative visual presentation. This isn't like that. This is for real hard work that you have to do on the ground if you take marketing as a discipline as you go along. So the first thing that was on the topic is, what approach does your team take to build the positioning of the brand? Meaning, how do you start the discussion? Okay, so I'm going to start, this is very, very fundamental, because this is where the relationship between a business and a human being actually happens. It's the positioning. Okay, so that's the gel that connects the two. So the purpose of positioning is, it's not, and these are all my statements, this doesn't come out of a textbook as such, because these are more sort of practical oriented elements that I've actually plugged in to make sure it's easy to connect what we do on the ground as we go. So best fit your brand to attract the customers you want. So it's very simple. I mean, your brand has to be fit, it has to be a good fit, at least a good fit, to to attract the customers that you want to have as your customers. It's very simple. It's not rocket science in terms of what it means. But when you look into positioning in a bit more detail, it becomes a bit more tricky to manage. Why? Some of the myths that go around about positioning is, myth number one is you are positioned in the customer's mind as you see yourself to be. So remember those old ways of positioning, quality versus price. So it's very simple. Oh, I'm the best at quality, medium on price, this is my positioning, fantastic, we've done our job. It doesn't work that way. Because in reality, positioning is not about what you think you stand for. It just isn't. It is the customers you attract that effectively gives away what your true positioning is. Let me give you an example. So let's say, let's think for once that iPhone is a phone that was never marketed on ATL or digital. So Bangladesh, let's say, is on a different planet. Let's say planet Mars. But probably Elon Musk has taken you there. And there's no access to any kind of media at all. Okay? Now, if you take an iPhone there, there's Samsung Galaxy S7, etc., etc., etc. And this is Bangladesh, by the way, so you can understand the mindset. What would be this quality versus price positioning that you have about iPhones? What would it be? High quality, high price. That's the. This is my position. And all of a sudden, you took say, Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge into that planet. Where would that be positioned?
High price, high quality.
Okay, so next, this is not working. Let's take Virtu, the phone that just went defunct. But if you took that phone there, what would happen? Again, high quality, high price. So this, sort of idea of positioning was redundant a long time ago. But the reason you've not been exposed to the sort of nitty-gritty details of how actually positioning happens in the real world is because some of these tools or sort of models are proprietary. So these are exposed to us once we pay some of these sort of big consulting firms a hefty amount of money, and then they share their sort of positioning models to us. So 9 times out of 10 you will find it very difficult to access it in real life. And we'll show you how they've actually married these two concepts. Concept number one is that positioning is actually the mind of the customer, what he or she is as a person and what he or she projects about you as a brand. Okay? So that's a very key principle that is married in sort of positioning exercise that happens in the real world. The second myth that goes around is, you need a big customer segment to be successful. Again, that's absolute rubbish. I mean, the first thing that we have in our minds is especially amongst entrepreneurs and businessmen who are just trying to sort of start, they think way too big for their boots. And big businesses globally have never thought beyond what they can handle. Give an example. What did Facebook start as? Has anyone seen the social... No, even Harvard. Exactly. So it was just about a Harvard community which expanded into the phenomenon that we see today, right? So the thing that segmentation is about getting as much of the market as possible, grabbing everything that's there, that's not really the case. You start off with a very small element that you may think at some point it might expand. Okay, so those are the sort of myths that we need to keep on top of our heads when we think about positioning and branding. So these are all bullets. I'll sort of give it a bit more human feel as we go along. Segmentation is very minute level is very simple, which is to identify customer clusters. Okay, what do we mean by customer clusters? How many students are here? I mean, approximately about 70 or 80, right? 100-ish. 100-ish. So how many ways can I segment this market? 100 customers. How many ways can I segment?
Gender, age, area.
How many ways?
100 ways.
This is 100 ways?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I don't think so. 100 ways would be too much.
100 ways would be too much, it would be too less. The number of ways in which you can actually... And has anyone gone through permutation, combination, statistics?
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is where those things come into play, and I'm feeling like a genius right now. Number of ways you can actually segment 100 people is 100 factorial. Which means I can take you as a segment, or I can combine you with someone in the back row as a segment. And there are these 100 factorial ways, 100 into 99 into 98, all the way backwards. That's the number of ways I can segment you guys. So the question therefore is that the sort of segmentation that is useful?
No.
Not necessarily, right? So what you need to do in terms of doing a segmentation are very important that it relies on 3 things. One is consensus. You see, all of you have, there was general consensus here. I'm sorry. 100 factorial is not the kind of segmentation we want. This is a typical sort of argument that we face in board meetings or in top management meetings. How do we want to segment this market? So let's say for mass market brands like telco, where I was for the 10 years I was in telco. The orientation is what? How many players are there in telecom? Telecom, yeah, Bangladesh.
5 operators.
Yeah, 5, fifth one isn't there, or fourth. So let's say 4 players. So how many customers are there in this market? Any guess?
5 crore.
Total market? Okay, so 6, yeah, 6 sort of mind space thinking. No, I just need to target 1 million. They're not. There are 2 things that they're looking for is market expansion, because this is where market share is key, right? So you're trying to grab as much market as possible. So you're trying to gain volume, not reduce it. The second thing you're looking for is quality of customer. Who will give me more money, right? So these 2 are the foundations of which a telecom, sort of business is based on. One is number of customers, the other is quality of customers. Okay. So these 2 are the things that are based. So for a telecom management to decide what kind of segmentation am I looking for, he or she will be looking for big chunks, right? Because if you make your, if I have 10 segments and then I say, you choose one, they'll say, are you kidding me? How can I operate with 5% of the market? I can't. I'll have to target at least 50 to 60% to get the sort of 5-10% increments that I'm looking for on a day-to-day basis, right? So you look for huge chunks in these markets. What if there's a startup, a small startup, who is actually just going to serve retailers dealing with tea stalls? Okay. What would be the segmentation like? Would it be this 100, 16, 17 crore segment that I'm going to target? Absolutely no. You should be focusing on a very small niche of that market. So consensus, which means the management has to be comfortable with the volume and size of the market you're actually targeting. And the segmentation model has to deliver that. If it doesn't, chances 9 times out of 10, the entire activation or sort of campaigns that you'll be thinking about, brand structure you'll be thinking about will fall apart. Because if now Bangladesh or Robi start to think, I'm going to focus on businessmen only, that ruins the entire brand. Because then the rest of the audience of the entire country would feel alienated. Say, I'm not a businessman, so this isn't for me. Right? So you have to be more generalistic when you go for large volumes of customers. And very important to identify something which I think was put forward by Nasif as one of the items, which was corporate branding, then looking for how do you structure a portfolio. As you become bigger and bigger in size in terms of customer numbers, remember your brand becomes more and more generalistic in terms of category attachment. What do I mean by that? So Coke, what is it about?
Beverages, carbonated
It is a carbonated. It's at a core level. It's sugary, fattening, not good for your health, etc. Beverage that adds fizz to your life. What is their promise? What do they talk about? Happiness, right? Interesting. Is happiness something that any one of us don't want to be? I don't want happiness in my life.
No.
So it doesn't alienate anyone, does it? Why doesn't it alienate anyone? What is their business? What is their business mindset? Who do they want? Everyone. Exactly. So to think, the larger the scope of your brand is, the more generalistic your proposition becomes. It is not necessarily a bad thing. The only challenge is you have to be so strong at it that there's no one else who can actually take ownership of it. So big brands, when they really want to get a huge customer base following them, they take up a generalistic position, but they do it really, really well. So that's what keeps them ahead of time. So components. So what are the components of a segmentation tool? It's a framework would have to be there. So exactly how do you want to do the segmentation? What are your priorities? A segmentation model that fits the business and scale. We just discussed that. So you have to be fit with the business and scale that you're thinking about. Quantitative and qualitative elements. Now these 2 are something that you'll be tracking on a day-to-day basis as you go along. So what are these? So typically quality and service are what? Quantitative or qualitative elements? Quality and price. The 2 things that we talked about in segment. It's qualitative, right? So the question is, how do you? Qualitative doesn't give you the full picture now, does it? and 9 times out of it won't. So there's a mix of the two. So typically the two models that I've used in the past, one was, and do these studies at home. I mean, do a quick search, it'll be very interesting reading. One is TNS, it's a global consulting firm. They have a need scope model, NEEDSCOPE, need scope. It's a model. I'll just show you a visual depiction of it. I can't show you the results of Rahman phone or any other telco because that's confidential. I can't show you that. But we're going to show you how it looks like. The other is look for Roland Berger, and I'll show you a pictorial representation of what that means. These two are sort of research agencies who are experts in developing models for it. Okay, so we'll look into that. So these have both qualitative and quantitative elements inbuilt into that framework, and I'll show you some of that. And then you have to plot customers on those models, plot the customers that you're actually surveying or trying to counter, and plot by brand users. What does that give you? So you've plotted customers on a particular grid, they have a certain pattern of behavior, and then what you do is, okay, fine, this is the entire industry. Here is my brand user sort of imposed on that. What does that give you? So you have a customer profile of the entire industry, and then you have a customer profile of your brand users. What do you get? You get two things. One is you get exactly what kind of customers you are actually attracting, irrespective of what you're saying in the ads. Ads are not the depiction of the exact customers you're actually targeting or attracting. The end customers may be completely different. So you get that picture, and the entire industry scope gives you exactly where do you stand versus every other player, because the rest of the surface that you see is occupied by someone else, not you. Okay? And I'm going to show you how that works. So before we get into the model, there's two broad level sort of segmentation principles. The one is if you do segment the market for a new category, what do you do? So this particular person, who is he?
Elon Musk.
Good. So he's a new thing. Now Steve Jobs is dead. Bill Gates is too old. This is a new hip guy, right? And we'll come to why you think that way. You're looking for prospects, right? For a new category, it doesn't exist in the world, right? So you're looking for new prospects. So what you're looking for is customer profiles that would benefit the most from your category. That's one. Identify the influence in the process, because it's a new category. You don't expect everyone to take it up at a single go, right? You're looking for people who'll be taking up now, so that later on, this will actually have a spillover effect, so that everyone else joins the bandwagon. Identify the ones who have the willingness and ability to pay the low-hanging fruit. So, what did Tesla start off with? What was their first model? Does anyone know?
Model S.
Model S. So for the non-car geeks, I would expect a lot of you here to be non-car geeks. This was the more expensive Tesla vehicle. Okay, so it was the pinnacle of performance. It beat supercars on a drag strip any given day. It had a sort of a very sort of high-tech interior, etc. It's a very luxurious sort of element. But then he comes up with the Model 3, right? Model 3, which is a $35,000 starting price, but both of them have been booked and sold out. That's the principle. But what did he look for initially is that he wanted this trend to start from people he believed would start this trend. So these were elites, the ones who would typically buy a Ferrari or have a Ferrari in their garage, or a Lamborghini or a Porsche in their garage, and they would like an electric vehicle just to make sure that they feel themselves to be environmentally friendly. So let's say those are the sort of customers who took it up first, but now it has created a wave. Now everyone wants one, but they were looking for a lower price point, so it brings in the Model 3. So this is the basic principle on which this entire industry is built on. So in identify spillover effects, so they've identified the spillover effect. They know exactly when to launch the next Model 3 because they've already caught traction with Model S. So that's fantastic. Final point is identify any hindrances to reach your target customers. This is an experiment. Why? Notice that Model 3 is already, if you don't know, Model 3 is already overbooked, and it'll take at least, I think, 3 years or so, I think, if not more, to actually satisfy that demand. So you've already deposited $1,000 or so, and you're waiting for 3 years for the car to come out and be delivered to you. So in the meantime, what are they doing? They're developing the next big thing. So it ensures that you have a safe keep in terms of market size so that you don't go bust. But at the same time, you ensure that there's a pipeline of money or finances coming in. There's an aspiration element that comes in so you can start developing the next big thing that comes in. So it's all about planning, and that's how Elon Musk is so successful. I'm going to discuss a bit about architecture now, and it'll be interesting discussing, because it doesn't exist. I just made this up last night. So let's think that Elon Musk is all about future of mobility. Okay? Let's think that this is his overarching corporate image. Does Elon Musk have a tagline?
I don't know. I don't know.
In a sustainable world.
Does he say that Elon Musk building a sustainable world? He doesn't say that, does he? Okay. Does Tesla have a tagline? No one knows if any of these things. Does SpaceX have a tagline? Does Hyperloop have a tagline? And one of the questions that Nasbi actually put up, taglines, about this tagline. The recent trend, and this is I would say a lot to do with how digital marketing has changed the landscape. When you used to go on ATL, or you used to go, sort of trying to track the masses, what are you trying to do? You're trying to differentiate yourself from the rest of the players that are out there, right? Your conversations look very, very similar because all you're doing is cluttering the market. So you're developing TVC. For people to remember this is Grameen phone, you have to say Cholo Bohudu. For people to remember it's Bangla, you'll have to say Din Bodolar Cheshta. For Robi, you'll have to say what was it? You'll have to have that because the TVCs look almost exactly the same. Except for a few color tones, blue, orange. Those hues are there. But we've done research. When I was in telco, we did research. There are many network campaigns that Banglalink did that were attributed falsely to Grameen phone. Why? Because we were talking about network, and the only thing that people recognize when they attach network with the brand, the only brand they attach with it is Grameen phone. So inadvertently, we're actually feeding off from a campaign that competitors are doing about something that we are strong at. So taglines, digital marketing has changed all of that. The reason Tesla, Elon Musk don't need taglines is because they have conversations constantly with the customer. They have something, they have a report, they have a CNN interview, they have BBC interviews, they have an analysis of what Hyperloop is. They're constantly feeding you information, and you don't need a tagline to know what Tesla is. You don't need a tagline to understand why Tesla is different from Microsoft. So the entire purpose of taglines was to differentiate. With digital marketing and how we can bombard people with relevant information, some of these taglines have become absolutely redundant. And it just occupies space for which you can actually do something else. So some of the ways in which digital marketing has actually impacted traditional marketing. So this is a sort of tentative architecture, what might be on Elon Musk. I'm not sure if people at the back can see this. So at the top is future of mobility. We talked about it, right? If this is what Elon Musk is about. There are a few principles we assume that he believes in. Okay? So these are assumptions. We think that he believes in green, safe, and fast. Let's assume that these are 3 principles by which his entire corporate company or corporate entity lives on. So let's assume that those 3 are the basic principles. You will not deviate from any of this, no matter what kind of product he comes up with. Let's assume that. So the 3 things that we assume that he's planning on, because he's already delivered some of that. One is personal mobility on Earth. Okay, so we talked about future mobility. So one of the things that you have to do is, what do we do on Earth? And personal mobility means I own something. Okay, so under that you have Tesla. So let's assume the product that he delivers as part of his personal mobility on Earth promise is Tesla. The other thing is, let's say, space travel and transportation. Let's assume that is the next big thing he's also working on. And he has started delivering on it, which is SpaceX. It's already sending goods to the International Space Station, right? Yeah. They've already started that journey. And there is the public transit system. They already experimented with Hyperloop, right? So we assume that those 3, based on what we know, are the sort of categories he's working on. One is personal mobility on Earth. The second thing is space travel and transportation. The last is public transit. So you already have a structure of architecture. So the corporate brand would have to have a common principle by which it governs what goes into everything that it does. It doesn't have to be something that is expressed in words. It is something that is expressed through principle and practice. Okay? So I think one of the items was, how does corporate branding work? It actually feeds into whatever product and service you actually deliver. Okay? So let's say that's the delivery. Under Tesla, so these are the sort of brands that he has. These are these category brands. One of them is Tesla, the other is SpaceX, the other is Hyperloop. How does he develop products underneath? After that, you don't actually have to have too much synergy between all 3. You might have at some point, but currently you don't. So what you have 2 models under Tesla, which is Model S and Model 3. SpaceX is a different brand. Hyperloop is a different brand. Why? because in terms of the customers they're targeting, they're not necessarily the same. So you've already identified these three segments. So you're developing products for these segments on a broad level, and industries don't really collide, at least at this point of time. So you can develop products and services underneath that. So then under Tesla you have Model S and Model 3. For SpaceX you might have Mars, Project Mars, and then Project Jupiter. Let's say if you want to have a sort of travel to Jupiter, you take this. If you want to travel to Mars, you take this. It's almost like having a Emirates Airlines catalog. You travel to Taqi, this, Chittagong, this, and so on. In public transit, you might have Hyperloop, which is intercontinental and deep sea. So, does it all base its principle on breathe, safe, and fast? Absolutely. But look at how they've just separated based on the sort of industry they're actually trying to grab. Okay? So this is me making it up, but this is the principle on which every architecture is based. Modifiers, I think one of the elements that Nasif actually identified. Now, how does modifiers work? It's very simple. So let's say Model S has three features or three elements that actually goes in. One is called the ludicrous mode. Does anyone know what this means? Ludicrous? It's super fast. You press that button and it goes even more faster than it already does. So it's called ludicrous mode. And interesting, Model 3 has a button and it's hilarious. Now, this is all Elon Musk thinking. There's I think a sport button or something. I mean, it actually makes sure that you have maximum power. What it says on Model 3, sorry, Model S actually, it says, this will greatly reduce the longevity of your engine, your motor, because it'll take up a lot of power. It'll sort of ensure that your charge goes out fast. Would you like to proceed? The two options are, no, I want my money. The other option is, yes, let's do it. So, notice the personality here. You already know what kind of, and who do you attach this brand to? Elon Musk. Also, this is what Elon Musk must be like. So you don't need sort of a very structured brand platform to actually tell people this is what Elon Musk stands for. It all feeds into the product. This is the change that also digital marketing has brought up, is the product now speaks more than the communication that goes with it. It's part of the overall experience that delivers what a brand is. So because the experience has become more important, what I experience a product through has become more important. Because digital means that the interface and everything is customizable to customer preferences, right? To think that digital is all about just Facebook, LinkedIn, or this is actually just not looking at the entire picture. This entire digital game has made sure that every experience you have with every product has become customizable with you. I mean, the way you behave, that's how the product somehow learns and develops itself. Right? So once it does that, your experience is yours to experience only. Someone else comes in, the experience will be completely different. So the product speaks more than the communication that you put in as an ad maker. That speaks more louder than ad maker's words. So that's very important to remember. Okay, so this is a bit of discussion on architecture. Again, what actually I would like, Nasif, if you could do this, it will be an interesting exercise for all of you, is going forward, how does the brand architecture of your department change in the next 5 to 10 years? How does the curriculum change? That will be an interesting exercise, because I can guarantee this to you, this is what Ivy League universities are doing right now. They're changing curriculums completely because it's going to be a mashable of everything. It will be an interesting exercise for these people to actually just get into the game of architecture building. That will be interesting.
They'll hate me more, but that's
sure. I'm sure you love to be hated. He's the most hated guy on campus, right?
yeah.
Oh, she is! Alright, perfect. Great. So, now for new products. So this is a new industry completely, right? We just talked about this. It's completely new. I just made something up. But now you're thinking that what is this guy up to? But this is, let's say, for existing. So let's say you have a new product. Already there's a market there. So how would you actually go about segmenting that? So you're looking for prospects again. You're still looking for prospects, but the structure is slightly different. You're looking for niche opportunities. How do you do that? So first of all, let's say, let's talk about industry that you'd like to get into. Let's talk about food. Okay? Let's say there are 3 players in this market. One is Hajir Biryani. The other is Saucelli's. Let's see, what can we say? The other is Izumi. Okay, let's say these 3 are the only options you have for restaurants in Bangladesh. The rest are all gone. Now, what you're trying to do is come up with a restaurant. You want to open up a restaurant in Bangladesh. Considering these 3 players are already there, these players are very strong, clearly differentiated.
And now you'd like to come in and say that, okay, fine, I'd like to play this game. I'd like to take a market share from all of you guys. I'd like to create my own product. What would you start off with? What you would do is identify, very important, look for niche of customers who have gap in expectation. So this is what all companies do. What they do is, first of all, they identify, let's say from the industry itself, what are the customer expectations? So it's almost like an exhaustive list. So let's say I want, from a restaurant, I want clean environment, I want fries, I want Coke at the market retail price, not overcharge me so that I don't go to Grahok, the institute and then charge you money for it. So let's say 4 or 5 of these are the sort of top things on your mind. These are important for me. I need quality food, I need hygienic food, I need freshly prepared food. I want to take my family, so there has to be a seating of 6. How would you know that? It's case in point of taking an exhaustive list from the customer that is very functional, very, very functional. And this is where it's different from emotional attributes. These elements have to be absolutely functional. What do customers actually seek in terms of delivery? So you have that exhaustive list prepared, okay? The next thing that you do is, where are the gaps? So these are the expectations, okay? These are the expectations. Now what you'll do is, for sauces, what you'll do is, okay, if I were to give you sauces, where do you think they rank on these parameters? You'd find an interesting thing that's called the value curve come out of that. So the value curve is nothing but a prioritization of elements that is delivered by the restaurant industry, let's say, and customers' ranking of those elements for each particular brand that you're actually showcasing. So you'll have, let's say, priority number 1 is that you'll see. These are value curves that you'll see that are different from one to another. That is where your opportunity is. Why? Because if you have 10 factors, you will always find that there are certain factors that are important for the customer, but no one is delivering on it. The entire budget airlines industry was based on this. What did, I think Southwest, all these, what did they find? They found out what you're actually delivering is not important for the customer, for many customers. So you under-deliver on that, but deliver on the price that people are looking for, so you have a market. Okay? It's all based on a value curve. It's very simple as a tool. Just search value curve on Google and you'll get it. It's very simple, but it's very, very effective. So that gives you functional areas where you can differentiate. Okay? So that's very simple. So look for good customers with gaps in expectation you can address profitably. Look at their volume, see if their market size is significant enough, which Southwest did. They found this customer size is huge. I can make terrific business out of it based on volume. So I can grab this. And identify spillover effects. What are the spillover effects of Southwest? What happens when Southwest does great pricing?
The other airline starts same.
Other airline starts. So here is where you have to keep in mind that just because you have something good now doesn't mean that someone can't replicate it tomorrow. So you have to continue going through that process over and over again. This is a never-ending exercise for a brand. And that is more so, again, thanks to digital. Why? Information is out there in a jiffy. Everyone knows your business model from day one. So you can't hide it anymore. So you don't have a PLC that thinks, I'm going to invest, I'm going to take this market to a certain volume, earn a lot of money, and then let it decline, I have no problems. You don't have that time frame anymore. Everyone grabs you from day one. So you have to be very, very agile. So I've talked about this. So this is one of the most boring things I can show you, but this is important. So this is TNS's model of segmentation. For the back, you won't see anything. Just to let you know that this is a map. It's basically plotting customers. How this works is, there are, let's say, about 30 profile questions. These are emotional questions. So let's say I might ask Nasif, in terms of 1 to 10, how would you rank entertainment as an important element of your life on a scale of 1 to 10? You'd probably say, I only care about my cat. I don't care about anything else. So you'll rank it at, let's say, 5. But Narmeen, if I ask her, in terms of entertainment, I want to go to Veni Vidi Vici every single day. So that's my entertainment, I'd rank it as 9. So remember, entertainment is subjective, right? But the mindset of seeking entertainment is always the same. The mindset, this is how I entertain myself. It might be TV, it might be something else that I want to do, but entertainment as a principle remains. What would I say to Nami? She's above average in terms of entertainment seeking than Nasif is. So that's exactly on the principle by which this map is developed. So you have the functional elements identified in the value curve, right? You have the customers who seek that kind of value, so you know how I'm going to attract them from a functional perspective. This is where you get the emotions coming in. So you know exactly what kind of customer values what kind of emotion and prioritizes which over the other. So if I want to sort of, and this is a very quick thing, I'm running out of time. Very quick thing, let's say 100 students. All of you have given this rank on thrill and entertainment. You've said from 1 to 10, the average I get as a score for this class is 9. Okay, so this is the average, sorry, 9 is a bit too high. Let's say it's 7. Okay, so 7 is the average score, what you would rank thrill and entertainment as an important part of your life. If I were to take, let's say, him out of the equation and say that, what is your score? He might say, my score is 9. So what I would do is, that center point for that particular value would be 7. But for him it would be 9, so it would be, thrill and entertainment would be 2 points above. Not the mean score. He'd be above in terms of thrill and entertainment because he seeks it more than the average of the population. So I've got 30 profile questions. So against 30, I'll be able to map exactly how he's different from the rest of you. So that's exactly how segmentation happens. I can club 10, 10, 10, 10 and map you in that way. I'll know exactly how each of these clusters are different from the other in terms of those values. Once I know that, your marketing campaign becomes very, very easy. So let me give an example. Marketing is always about averages. What in Bangladesh is decent, go to Saudi Arabia, it isn't. Why? Because it's all about averages. On an average level, there's a certain mindset we have about decency in this country. On an average level, they have a higher level of averages in their heads. So that's why you can't do the same thing there. It's the same principle here. So you're looking for averages. How can I exceed that? If I want someone to really love me because I deliver thrill and entertainment, I have to be more thrilling and entertaining than the average of the market. So everyone is talking about cycling as a thrill and entertainment. I go to bungee jumping. So that's where your marketing activities start to come into play. Hope that makes a bit of sense. Great. I won't go to the second model, which is Lodenberger. Just search for it. I think it'll be a good exercise for you to look into it because these are interesting things you'll love to use at work because it gives you direct input as to how you actually develop a brand platform. So it's very simple. Is that you can actually identify exactly you have this coming in from the questionnaire, which is age, male, female. Those things are coming up as general questions. But these are the emotions that you're actually identifying in terms of red, green, and blue, which means which is more skewed towards him. He prefers those emotions more than the average of the population, etc., etc. So this will give you an idea of how to actually chip and chop your brand profile. So what are the derivatives of this exercise? And this will probably be my final slide before we move on to questions. One is, who are you actually attracting? Remember the thing that we talked about in the first few slides is, this is not, you're going to the customer and saying that, what do you think about my ad? What you're going there and asking is, who are you? This customer is your customer. So who are you gives you perspective of who he actually is. He or she is actually. And then he also gives you what kind of emotions drives that person. It doesn't matter if he or she likes your ad or not. Fact of the matter is this person is your customer. He or she likes you for a certain reason. It might not be your ad. So therefore, this is a more clear identification of the positioning that you have in the market than an ad that you develop for them. So ad is nothing but a tool to attract them. The positioning is much more core. It describes the sort of customers you're bringing in. Okay. Point number 2, can your brand handle the change that you need? So let's say you don't like what the customers are telling about you. They say that you're boring. You think you're thrilling, you're very exciting, you've got great ads going to the market, I must be the coolest thing in town. You go to the customers, all the customers that you are getting are boring. It's like Volvo. You think that Volvo is wonderful, safe, exciting, sleek designs. The customers who buy them are all 60 years old plus. But that's the reality of Volvo then. Volvo can't claim that I'm a huge brand, guys. They can't. So this is where the gap is. So you have to understand, can your brand stretch? Honda had that same problem. Honda had a very similar problem. That's why they developed the Type R. That's why their cars are now a bit more edgier. They're trying to attract you. But all they're getting is me. Why? Because it's reliable. It gives sort of midlife crisis individuals a sense of purpose in life, etc. But at the end of the day, they're actually looking for you. They're not being able to get that. All you're attracted to are Ferraris and motorbikes. I mean, that's how things are. So can you handle it? Can you handle that stretch? Once you do take that journey, you might be losing your core customers. That's a very big risk. So you have to go back to that profile to see, are you stretching yourself beyond your limits? And are you losing your existing customer base? Because if that's what you're doing, you're creating a very bad sort of precedence for yourself. Why? Because then you have to think about multiple brands. Question is therefore, can you handle multiple brands? Volkswagen Group did exactly that. Volkswagen, how many brands do they have in portfolio? They have Audi. I think someone is a car fan here. Who is it? Great, perfect. Exactly. And they've separated the Bugatti is interesting. The Audi engine is used for different. Lamborghini as well uses Audi engines. So that's where you have to sort of judge how we actually handle multiple brands. The brand book is where everything comes together. I can't share any brand books with you because this is a company sole proprietary sort of thing that the people keep. They share it with the agencies, but not beyond that. But it has those elements already built in. You know exactly what it is. As a marketing roadmap towards gradual transition. No transition happens overnight. It's at times 10, 15, 20 years that it takes to actually gradually transition a brand. So for the time being, let's end it here because already we've taken up a lot of time. I think open up for questions now.
Yeah, sure. We can go for Q&A session for very long because we'll have a session at the end of course. We just got to know he has a midlife crisis.
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure it was educational, wasn't it?
Yes.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Big hand for him.
Yes.
So what we'll do is, after the session ends, we'll have a networking session. I'm pretty sure some of you have very good questions. The questions could be answered after the sessions are over because we're a little out of shortage of time, and I would like to basically welcome the next speaker. Drabir Bhai is here. Drabir, hello. He is the Chief Operating Officer of X, that's an agency. He used to work for Cohijar, and I was having a conversation with him, and since we have been working with the industry for some time, we get to know the guys who actually know their business. Drabir Bhai is one of those guys who knows his business. He has been here before, and his discussion will be centered basically towards digital marketing. He's a digital pro. Let's welcome Drabir Bhai with a very big hand.
My name is Drabir, and I'll keep it as short as I can. কারণ আমাকে যে কাজটা করতে বলা হয় প্রতিবার is to explain something that took me almost 4 years to basically not learn. I haven't learned it yet, but just to get into it, it took me 4 years. So I can't really explain that to you in half an hour. It's impossible to do that. So I will not even bother trying. We have a very long row of people, so পিছন থেকে কি শুনতে পাচ্ছ? Alright, thank you. যদি আমার কোনো কথা শুনতে না পাও, please raise a hand. I'll try to walk up and then speak. I need somebody up here to change slides. Can anybody just help me with that? Yeah, please. Step here, just space bar delay when the time comes. So, I was listening to Tarek. We studied in the same university. I studied with Narmin in the same university. We're all in the same class. So, we're pretty old now. But
You're having midlife crisis, apparently.
yeah. So, who said we're having midlife crisis?
I did. Where were you?
Oh, really? You are having a midlife crisis, my friend. So, get a new car, fancy car. Congratulations. Alright, but that's not the point. The point is, Basho, I'm okay. Seriously, you want to just stand there?
Yes.
That's very creepy. Sit down.
No, sir, I'm okay.
No, I want you to sit down. I find it very weird when people are just hanging around there, just looking at me. Don't do that. Here's Ashwita, don't worry about it. Whatever happens will happen.
Excuse me, do you have to give any guidance?
I think it's short.
Yes, I did.
Alright, I do have a presentation here which you can use and you can download, you can do whatever you want with it. The link for downloading that presentation is bit.ly/slides of Dravid. So literally just slides of Dravid, all small caps. You can download it any given time, you can access it, you can do whatever you want with it. But I was just thinking about what Tariq was saying, that how do you do branding in the digital age? Yes, positioning and a lot of other elements are there, but you have to keep something in mind, that the world has actually shifted a lot. তুমি যদি প্রোডাকশনের কথা চিন্তা করে দেখো, সেটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে একদম initially producing products, whenever you produce something, it was all about customization. Everything was made to order. You just say, if you were a shoemaker back in the 18th or 17th, not even the 18th century, before that, 17th century, then probably you would make a shoe based on the order that you are getting. Somebody would order you to make a shoe, you would make that shoe according to the absolute perfection of that particular individual. Later down the line, then came mass production. And that's when all hell broke loose. We got lower prices, but in return, we got a fixed shape of shoe. So the shoe that you got was created for an average person, not necessarily for you. So তারপরেও যখন হচ্ছে কি আরো different টাইপের shoe আসে, you can at best get to a particular level of fitness. If you want customized shoes, you have to pay for it. And you have to pay a significant amount for it. And then something else came along. And in terms of communication, it was the same path. The communication কিন্তু এটাই হচ্ছিল, যে first communication was individual. You would speak to each person, try to convince them যে এই যে আমার জিনিসটা নেন, আমার কাছে এই জিনিস আছে. Later on, it became a lot more mass production led. As in, you'd create that one large segment or two large segments or 3, 4, 5 large segments, and you would try to cater all of them equally well. As in, for each segment, you would have 1, 2, 3 offerings, and you would expect all of them to take those offerings. That's the level of customization that you could go for. So your communication was targeted towards that as well. So say, take an example of the Philips bulb ad. I guess you guys are too young for that ad. So you have never seen that on television. You were probably not even born, some of you. That depresses me, yes. But the point that I'm trying to make, back in those days, you were basically putting up a communication targeted towards all of the market all at once. Later on, you created a few customizations, but everybody had to fit into that customized format. You could not go beyond that, right? But then something else came along. And that's where we will talk about. But the example that I'll give from the production side of things. So I am a lot into cycling, right? And once you get more into cycling, particularly into road racing, you realize the importance of your shoes. So I had one particular model, which I have used for the last 5 years, which had zero customization. It was a mass-produced shoe, and eventually it fit my foot. My foot is wider on the arches, so eventually it basically had to reshape itself around my foot. It was forced to do that. Recently, I bought another pair, and this one is what is called a custom molded shoe. So this is not custom made, this is custom molded. What is that? Basically what happens is, I take the sizings, I take the shoe, then I put it in an oven, and I bake it for 20 minutes at 70 degrees Celsius. I'm not making that up, no. And so I had to do that in the middle of the night so that my wife could not see. Obviously, you don't want to be found when you are baking your shoe. And after that, the sole becomes malleable. So then you put your feet in, and then you press down, and the sole gets molded to the shape of your feet. And that's mass customization. Because it basically fits my particular need. It basically fits the specific needs that I have. So mass customization is something that digital enables us to do. And I will talk about that. I had no plans of talking about that. I just decided that that is what I'm going to talk about today. Now, the importance of this customized element is crucial in marketing right now. And the most critical thing about marketing in this era is to not feel like an expert. That is the most important thing that you can do to yourself. You will find that I find this in especially when I work with very young individuals right out of university. How many of you understand marketing? The principles of it, the basics of it. You have studied that. A lot of you will put your hands up. As you work along over the course of next few years, I hope that you realize that you actually don't. That nobody ever really does understand the entirety of marketing. Because you are trying to predict the behavior of individuals with an absolute certainty, which you can never do. The individual can't predict his own behavior, what they will do, how they will do it. আজকে এখানে যারা যারা আসো, all of you have certain preconceived notions about yourself. যে মানে কে বেশি কথা বলে, কে ভালো গান গায়, কিংবা কে হচ্ছে গিয়ে ফ্রেন্ডদের actually help করবে versus কে actually বলেও actually করবে না. So you have all of these notions, but এই পুরো জিনিসটা এক নাম্বার হচ্ছে গিয়ে each individual is different. So as a marketer, that's a big problem for me. কারণ আমি তো তোমাদের প্রত্যেকের জন্য how can I satisfy you? At the same time, each individual will behave differently based on what they are currently doing. There are individuals who will change, and you won't know the point of change. You will never know when they have changed. So in a market like this, how do you actually communicate to these individuals? Because essentially what I'm trying to tell you is there is no given point in time when you will know absolutely everything that there is to know about marketing to a group of people, no matter how hard you try. So that's where we come in. Next slide. So that's why we basically named ourselves X. X is the unknown variable. You never know the value of X. You can calculate the value of X for a particular equation right now. But if the equation changes tomorrow, the value of X will be different. And that's what happens to us every freaking day. Because we decide on something, and the next day something else happens, and we can't really do that anymore. Or, for instance, the current strategy that we use in all of our advertising and the client plans that we use depends on a change that has happened in the digital marketing industry around 8 months ago. Until that particular function was added, it was called a remarketing functionality. It was added onto Facebook's ad manager. If that wasn't done, all of our strategies that we used right now would not be possible. So we used to do something else beforehand. So essentially, this will change as well. This too shall pass. There will come a moment in time when we are going to say whatever we are doing right now is absolutely obsolete. Alright? So I will just try to teach you some basics. Whatever else comes along, you will have to learn on your own, because I have no idea what else will come along. I'll share and show you some tools that you can use and things that you can build with. And I will start off that conversation with one last example. We were talking about telecoms, right? And we are talking about large segments that we have, and 5-6 different segments of people that are telecom targets. Now, say, let's take an example of Airtel. right? Airtel actually covers a much smaller segment compared to the others. Who are Airtel segment? Youth. You know that from all of their communication. But which youth?
Friends.
Urban youth is one part of their segment. Who are the urban youth? So are you the urban youth?
Friends.
Not really. You're not the average urban youth. Always look at the world not through your own eyes. Never look at the world through your own friend circles. Never assume that this is what the world looks like. This is the mistake that we all make. This is a mistake that we have all made throughout our entire lives. The brands that we look at right now in Bangladesh, most of them have been designed with us in mind, because you are the brand managers. You end up becoming brand managers, and you assume that your world is the entire country. It's wrong. So again, when I say urban youth, that's not a, for instance, you are not a big enough segment to satisfy an entire telecom investment. So who are the urban youth? You are definitely part of that. But there is a large chunk of individuals across that spectrum. You will find a lot more people in a lot more needs, in a lot more different situations, with different income levels, different elements and other elements. Again, let's assume that we only have one type of urban youth. Fine. But we still have a big problem in our hands, because your product is not a universal product. Telecom নিয়ে যখন আমরা কথা বলি, টেলিকমে সবসময় মাথায় রাখতে হয় যে আমি এখন যেখানে আছি সেই কনটেক্সটে ওই টেলিকমের সার্ভিস ভ্যারি করবে। সো কিরকম, একটা সহজ উদাহরণ দিই যে তোমার টেলিকমের মেইন সেলিং স্পেস কি? Unless you have network, you can't really sell a telecom service, can you? So network and performance will vary. So depending on where you are, this particular product has different kind of value. So তোমার ওখানে এমন হতে পারে যে তোমার ওখানে ওই নেটওয়ার্কটা massively use হয় না, so you have a lot more speed in your hands. So there you can say that this telecom is the fastest telecom in a particular zone. But on the other hand, that will not be true for some other space. So how do you customize your communication? Say, তোমার একটা congested network, if you suddenly come in and start advertising about your strength of YouTube, will that work? Congested network e jeta hobe, it will not stream correctly. But if it was a free space, if it মানে ওখানে যদি অনেক ইউজার না থাকতো, then you could talk about YouTube. Then তখন আবার শুধু ফেসবুক মেসেঞ্জার নিয়ে কথা বলা is a waste of effort here. কারণ তখন you are missing out on an opportunity. So this is what mass customization is like. Because right now we get to target based on all of this. We get to target based on individuals, who are they, and show each individual a different conversation. If you are a boy, if you are a girl, if you are aged between 18 to 24, if you are not aged between 18 to 24, if you have a smartphone, if you don't have a smartphone, how we communicate with these individuals is the challenge. So do not look for one size fits all branding. It will never come again. There will no longer be a time and moment where each one of you will see the same ad. Because all of you are different, and all of you should be treated differently. Because if you're not, then the job of marketing and the job of advertising is not being done right. Because it is technically possible to treat you as an individual based on the things you like, the things you love, the way you interact with a product, or the way that you don't interact with a product. Okay? So again, coming back to this one particular discussion, যেখানে আমি এখন পর্যন্ত কোনো ধরনের কোনো কাজের কথা বলি নাই, I have just been bullshitting you. So আমাকে একটা জিনিস বলো যে if you keep this in mind, how do you actually create an advertising strategy or a marketing strategy for that matter? Extremely, but still somebody has to do it. Oh, and I don't have the answer to that, because it is something that I myself am trying to figure out here.
স্ন্যাপচ্যাটের ইন্টারেস্টেড অডিয়েন্স হচ্ছে গিয়ে রাফলি 4 লাখের মতো। Now if you think about it from say Robi being this big a brand, the kind of things that they does, it makes no sense to target 4 lakh manush and 15 lakh manush, right? Does that make sense? It does. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Because it absolutely makes sense. That's where you gain your business from. Because when you're talking to 400,000 people who are actually using Snapchat, and if you can give them something that is relevant for their usage case, for instance, in our case it was free Snapchat. Because Snapchat is a great data heavy service. So free Snapchat on our pack, then you have suddenly created a communication point. So it's not rocket science that I'm talking about. I'm only talking about targeting these small segments, but not just targeting them with anything, targeting them with relevant communications for them. And it worked. Because when you're targeting 400,000 people, you don't need a massive budget. You can actually get by with a much smaller budget as well. And same with Instagram. You don't need to advertise anywhere outside Instagram. You actually need to advertise inside Instagram. Now, that's your media mix. Because there is no point to this going out in television, going out in newspapers. There is no point of this campaign there, right? So what else can you do? So that's where communication comes into play. When you're advertising in Instagram, you can't really create the same communication that you use on any other medium. When you're in Snapchat, well, you can't really advertise in Snapchat. You have to pay a shitload of money to Snapchat to do anything there. So skip that. But still, people who are using Snapchat is still on Facebook, so that is an opportunity. So the communication that we created for that particular segment was, we basically mimicked the functionality of Snapchat and Instagram. আমাদের সব কমিউনিকেশনই দেখলে স্ন্যাপচ্যাট কিংবা ইনস্টাগ্রামে যে স্টোরিগুলো শেয়ার করা হয় ওগুলোর মতন দেখতে ছিল। They were all 10 seconds long. They would run super fast. They were very low res. It looked like anybody's Snapchat story. It looked like anybody's Instagram story. We used the existing filters of it, and we just said one thing, that if you like this, if you like Instagram and Snapchat, just take this package of ours. The point was, we just needed you to know. We were not looking for virality. We were not looking for likes, comments, shares, engagements, nothing. We just needed you to know. You might ask, then how were you measuring these campaigns? With the thing that matters most. Money. Drugs. Because from day one, we were tracking, were we getting more business than usual? Were we getting more hits than usual? What was the percentage of that growth? How can we increase that percentage? What else can we do? So at the end of the day, this is the one thing that you must remember. At the end of everything else, at the end of all these startups, all the businesses, everything else, all of it boils down to money. Thank you for that. Bottom line. If you can't bring in money, don't work. So let's move on to some actual stuff that you can probably use. Next. All right. So the first thing, this is what I am trying to tell you, that we still follow the principles of marketing. We still follow the principles of the basic 4 P's of marketing, if you think about it. There can be 8 different P's that we can add to that particular mix, but essentially, your common sense is your biggest help. If it doesn't make sense to you, as in utilizing the brain that you have, in that case, it will probably not work. There is no magic in marketing. There is no magical thing that happens that makes everything successful. It's all about hard work at the end of the day. So find out what else can you do about it. So these are the things, whenever you are actually doing some digital campaign, these are the things that you should remember. Again, this I have already given to you. You have the link, download it, look at it, do whatever you want. So first of all, প্রতিটা চ্যানেল, ডিজিটাল মার্কেটিং বলি, ট্র্যাডিশনাল মার্কেটিং বলি, ধরো টিভি, আমি যদি আজকে টিভিতে একটা রেডিও অ্যাড চালাই, would I get the same result? because radio is all audio. Or আমি যদি টিভির একটা অ্যাড নিয়ে রেডিওতে চালাই দেই, would I get the same results? Because that has happened. People have done that. যেখানে কিনা টিভির যে অডিও ট্র্যাকটা থাকে ওটাকে তুলে নিয়ে রেডিওতে চালাই দিয়ে মনে করছে ওকে ফাইন, we have done our job. There was a TV campaign, we have used the same audio in the radio campaign, we have an integrated marketing campaign. It was ridiculous because it was basically like this. What was that? Because you could not see anything, right? The same thing happens here. For instance, in a TV ad, the assumption is that you will be watching it to the end because you have no chance of switching, even though you do. But for instance, in sports, যেমন ক্রিকেট হচ্ছে এই মুহূর্তে বাংলাদেশে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করার জন্য সবচেয়ে এফিশিয়েন্ট লোকেশন। ক্রিকেটের পরে হচ্ছে নিউজ, আর এরপরে there are 5 programs that you need to remember. After that, it's all downhill from there. So the 5 programs are Sultan Suleiman. I'm not making that up. Don't laugh at it. That is what is actually keeping our TV industry alive. Yusuf Zulaikha, which has just finished, so something else will take its place. Hatim, which was on SATV. Oporajita and Palki. Oporajita and Palki are 2 TV serials that run on Dipto TV. আর বাকি যতগুলো প্রোগ্রাম আছে, these are not Bangladeshi channels at all. 81% of television watching time is on international channels. And guess the 2 channels these are. Star Jalsha and Zee Bangla. Forget your family. I'm trying to tell you this. Star Plus is watched in your household, or the households that you know. You need to remember the entire country if you want to get into marketing. This is what we forget. We keep on thinking of ourselves. You have to realize something, that we are the privileged few. All of us. In this room, outside this room, the friend circles that we have, the families that we know, that's why we all know each other. If I spend 5 minutes in this room talking about the people that we all know, you will find that all of us know somebody in common. We are all connected. And that's because we are the privileged few. We do not represent the country. What we do not shape this country. You have to think of the average individuals whenever you are doing something. And their behavior is not that different from you, but their exposure is different. The kind of things that you are doing on Snapchat is lucrative to you. However, he might be doing similar things on Facebook. Or, as I said, you're thinking Star Plus, we are thinking Star Jalsha first. But again, coming back to that original discussion, that each channel is different. So in Star Jalsha, you could actually force someone to watch an ad. Why? Because you don't want to switch. You don't want to miss when the channel comes back. You are invested into the story. Again, do not mock these channels. Just look at the investment that they have created. Just look at how the audience is hooked to the story. How much they care about the death of the individuals. We can joke all we want. We can make fun of these channels and serials all we want. We have not created something that creates this much investment right now, not in the last 5 years. Not in the last 10 years. The only programs that we can think of were before your time. Kothao keu nei. Or Aaj Robibaro wasn't really that invested. We were not that invested on it. Say Oil Moy, where we were so emotionally invested. So yes, they do know. Alif Laila even. We were invested in those crappy stories. But the point is, we were. Right now, you are invested in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So that's another journey altogether. But where are the rest of the country invested on? The entire country isn't watching Game of Thrones. Even your friends are. So your world is not the country. Your Facebook feed only represents your friend list. And not even your entire friend list. This is something that you must remember. It is the friends that you actually interact with. The rest of them, Facebook will always ignore. So you only hear from the people that is similar to you. And it creates a very difficult worldview. Don't jump into that. So again, coming back to that original discussion, that every channel is different. So the channels are different because on TV, you're forced to watch a television commercial to the end, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, whatever the timeline is, right? But that is not the same in digital. So you must do something in the first 5 seconds to grab people's attention. Because that's when the skip button pops up. If you are getting into pre-roll. Fine. You might say the pre-roll ad is one type of ad. Pre-roll is a type of YouTube ad. I'll talk about each of these ad types in a few minutes. But pre-roll ads is just one type of YouTube ad. There is another ad called the bumper ad, which is a 6-second ad, which you can't skip. So you might say, people can't skip it, therefore I'll put all my information in 6 seconds and everybody will know. You see, that's not true as well. Just because I can't skip your ad doesn't mean that I will remember your ad. Because এত কিছু তো নিতে পারবো না বাবা। এবং যদি আমি এত কিছু নিতে না পারি তাহলে what I might remember. You have to take a call on picking যে আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে সবকিছু তো মনে রাখতে পারবো না, what is the one thing that I want you to remember? If you pick one thing, then you probably will succeed, because it is possible to tell someone one thing very interestingly in 6 seconds, but you can't really tell an entire story with that. So always look at the rules of a channel. What are the best ways of advertising in a particular channel? There are best ways of doing things on TV, there are best ways of doing things on Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram or YouTube or any other different channel. My point is very simple. Do not think what you do on Facebook will work on your Google ad. What you do on Google ad will work on your Instagram feed. It will not. So identify which channels you are on and how can you take the best out of it. Not really. The core of the message is the same, but the message delivery mechanism has to be different based on your audience, based on your channel. The message doesn't always need to say the same thing. Sometimes you can actually break down a message and deliver it in 4 parts, because that is also something that you can do on digital. You can actually do things like this. তুমি প্রথমে একটা ভিডিও ক্রিয়েট করো যেটার মধ্যে তুমি একটা মেসেজ দিলা। Once somebody watches that video to the end, you can take that group of people and create them as an audience. We call this a custom audience. A custom audience can show them the second ad. Once you have talked to that second ad, then you take them to the third ad and the fourth ad, and you can do that. So it's not just one single thing that you can do. I'll give you an example of Mark's diabetic milk. It's a diabetic milk. It started off, we work for it right now, so I'm just giving my own examples. So it started off with a particular need, because we needed to identify diabetic patients or people who are interacting with diabetic patients, people who are in the same family. Now, people do put up diabetes related information on their own networks. The problem is, we are not really sure whether they're invested on that particular information. So, the first communication that we created was very simple. It was a slideshow, a basic slideshow. It had no fancy creativity, it had nothing on it. It just had a few information about diabetes and how to control it. Yeah? Now, this is the tricky bit. The communication wasn't what we were interested in. The first slide, the slide that you saw, it would say, আপনার অথবা আপনার পরিচিত কারো কি ডায়াবেটিস আছে? তাহলে এই ভিডিওটা আপনার দেখা উচিত। It is absolutely worthless to people without diabetes, but people who were clicking on it, we knew that fine. These guys have an interest about having or not having or connecting with people with diabetes. That's the starting point. It does not guarantee you something, but it does give you a good start. Okay. So think of simple things. Think of things that you would do. We were working on this campaign. Right now we are working on a campaign where we needed to know if people were thinking of buying refrigerators. So how do you figure that out? How do you figure out if somebody is thinking of buying a refrigerator?
We search for those.
Do you really search for refrigerators in Bangladesh? How do you tell it digitally? I'm a digital person at the end of the day. How do you say that digitally, how do you find out if somebody is thinking of buying a refrigerator? Search, Google search you korbe na. Bhai, get out of this room. Think of the entire country. Bikroy giye maybe search korte pare, but that is only if they are thinking of buying second-hand refrigerator. Facebook ads some detail pari, but our point oita na, ami kake ad dibo oita to age thik korte hobe. Because I need to show it to people who might be thinking of buying refrigerators, right? So, actually we needed to create a custom audience. There is no such audience that says that these guys are thinking of buying a refrigerator. So if I want to create a custom group of people who are thinking of buying a refrigerator, what do you do? Think simple. What would you do? If we were to find out, how many of your families are actually thinking of buying a refrigerator, what would you do? You just ask. And that's what you did. That's what we did. We just created a series of contents which starts off with the one single slider. Are you thinking of buying a refrigerator? Here are 5 tips. Or what is the difference between 13 liter and 15 liters? What type of size do you need? So those are the additional information. It is the first slide that gives me what I want. It doesn't give me engagements, it doesn't give me likes. It gives me a bunch of people who are actually thinking of buying a refrigerator. That is the most valuable thing that I'm bringing. Alright, so let's move on to the next slide. Alright, these are things that I want you to go through. I don't want to repeat these things. I come every year, I talk about these things over and over and over again. I don't want to talk about them today. So, basically, there are ways of handling your digital presence. So the first thing is the seller. As a brand, you must establish yourself as an expert of something. You must be good at something. Otherwise, people will not come to you. So, as a seller, your job is to establish the fact that you are good at something. So, you are good at this, that, anything. But you must establish what you are good at. Because if you are not saying what you are good at, people will not come to you. You are saying, there was this example that Tariq was mentioning about Coke. Coke said open happiness. It doesn't say that anymore, does it? Why don't they do that? Because they invested behind the open happiness area for a significant amount of time. Because Coke's consumption was significantly going down versus Pepsi and all the other cola brands who were more functional in their communication. Right now, Coke talks about taste the feeling. And taste has taken the front seat in all of their communication. Take a look at any of their communication right now. All they talk about is about that feeling. The happiness element is still there. But the happiness is something that they show by sharing a Coke, by enjoying a Coke, by relaxing with a glass of Coke. That's what they're playing at right now. They started selling happiness. They need to move back to selling their goddamn product first. So again, is it right or wrong? I don't know. We will know probably in a few years. But the point that I'm trying to make is try to understand what you're good at. Why should people buy your product? Right now, whenever people are thinking of digital marketing, they're thinking of why should people like my product? You don't want people to like your product. You want people to buy your product. So make sure that you have something that people would be willing to come to you for. This is what you're good at. Okay? The second thing is your shop. Oh, sorry. A shop is basically where your product can be sold. So there are 10,000 different ways of setting up a shop. It can be a website, it can be a Facebook shop. Do whatever is necessary for you. You might be happy with just a Facebook shop. That's sometimes fine. Because again, consumer behavior changes. People don't want to go to websites right now. We can't push people to get onto websites anymore. So stick to a Facebook shop maybe, or a simple Facebook post selling a product. Look at all of these details online. Take a look at all of this, it's all there, and it all explains exactly what I just said. So you can go into more details, more examples, but I want to skip through that today. Okay, hold on, that's it. So when you're creating a promotional strategy, for this current scenario, where digital plays a big role, so I'll only explain the digital bits, but here traditional media comes in, here BTL marketing comes into play. Digital is not the solution to everything. Some things are still done by traditional channels. For instance, the campaigns that we run sometimes heavily depend on television. যেমন একটা বড় ক্যাম্পেইন আমরা লঞ্চ গতকালকে রাতে করেছি, যেটার জন্য it was extremely important. It was extremely important to us that Bangladesh play Australia. আর বাংলাদেশ যদি অস্ট্রেলিয়ার সাথে খেলে তখন আমরা একটা ম্যাসিভ আইডল পাবো যখন কিনা টিভিতে খেলাধুলা দেখাবো, এবং ওইখানে যে অ্যাডভার্টাইজিং স্লট এটা আর কোনো সময়ই এক্সিস্ট করবে না। So all of our campaign was designed that we will do certain activities এবং আমাদের ফাইনাল পুশ হবে হচ্ছে ওই মিটে, যেটার জন্য বাংলাদেশ অস্ট্রেলিয়ার ম্যাচ হওয়াটা was extremely important. So it is all about how all of these channels work together rather than looking at one channel and thinking that is my solution to everything. So first things first, you identify the people that you want to talk to. I'll share you how you can do that by using Facebook's ad manager. আজকে আমি একটা example দেখাবো. You can take out a lot of other ways of doing that, but আপাতত একটা example will follow, and then we will talk about the each places that we can go to. So if you just scroll through next. So people identify করার জন্য ফেসবুকের অডিয়েন্স ইনসাইটস প্লাস এছাড়াও আরো কয়েকটা জিনিস আছে। I'll show a demo of this, so I'll skip that right now. Next. So the place is essentially different places in digital marketing. For instance, this is search ad. This is what search ad used to look like. Right now it looks completely different. কারণ ওই একই কথা বারবার বদলায় যায়। So I'll have to update this slide. Again, this is called display ad. Display ad is the most popular form of advertising and the most worthless form of advertising as well. Do you know why?
Why is it popular?
It was popular because it was the only thing that we could buy in bulk. And it was very similar to traditional advertising. You take newspaper ads, similarly you take display ad. Why is it worthless?
Ad blockers.
Ad blockers, not so much.
You don't trust it either.
No, you actually do. We can actually give you communications based on that.
It's not customized to the consumers.
No, it can be customized to the consumers to the finest degree. The thing is, ads always show up in very specific places in a website. You know where website ads show up, sometimes in the header, sometimes on the sides. You always know where they show up and what they look like. So your brain can basically filter them out. It basically stops itself from even looking at those portions of the website. I can show you heat maps that show the same result. And that is why it was the most worthless element. So I'll tell you about one particular ad format that you know of. Facebooker right side bare কয়েকটা ad আসে. Have you seen those? Do you ever look at the right sidebar? You don't, because you have no work there. You know that only ads show up there. However, newsfeed ads are different. Newsfeed ads are what we call a native ad format. What is a native ad? You can't really tell the difference between a native ad and also the thing that it is unique. যেমন Facebook ads Unique newsfeed stories. Stories that come from other friends. Unless you look at a tiny sponsored area, you won't know the difference. There are people that we have spoken to in recent who have said, no, I have never seen an ad on Facebook. And I take up their phones and we find out that he has been constantly seeing that. It's just that he doesn't know. And that is the best kind of advertising. Because you don't want an ad to feel like an ad. You want it to seem like a natural communication. So, আজকে যদি প্রথম আলোর হেডলাইন হিসেবে আসতো say McDonald's opens in Bangladesh, প্রথম আলোর হেডলাইন, you would receive that information then and there. But if it looked like an ad, you would skip. So again, stay in the native formats, not in intrusive formats. Okay? So these are native formats. These are things that show up in your newsfeed and you have no idea that these are ads. Some people do, most people don't. So stay true to these formats. They always get much better results. I'll give you click-through rates. For right-hand sidebar ads, click-through rate is 0.001%. This one has a click-through rate of 1%. So that's 1,000 times more efficient. Next. These are YouTube ads. The first one is called a pre-roll ad. A pre-roll ad is basically that ad that runs before a video. In a pre-roll ad, you must do something in the first 5 seconds. Else, no one is going to stick around. You must ensure that something happens in the first 5 seconds for which people are actually sticking around to see your communication. And you also have this, which is called a companion banner, and this in-roll displays, probably they are called in-stream ads.
Overlay.
Overlays. Sorry, overlays. I forgot their names. Thank you for that. So each one of these formats have its own benefits. For instance, if you are running a pre-roll ad, think of this. What is the behavior of looking at an ad? তুমি কোনো একটা গান দেখতে বসছো, তার আগে তোমাকে একটা অ্যাড দেখতে হচ্ছে। The ad is short. But ঠিক আছে, ফাইন, তুমি হয়তো স্কিপ করলা না, তুমি অ্যাড দেখলা, তারপরে তুমি গান দেখা শুরু করলা। তুমি যদি গান দেখা শুরু করো, ওই অ্যাডের কোনো পোর্শনে কি তুমি ক্লিক করতে পারবা? You can never do that. That is where the companion banner comes in. So whenever you are running a pre-roll campaign, you must ensure that you have a companion banner. Because otherwise, once your song ends, then you actually have a chance of doing something about that particular ad. You might be interested in that offer. You might be willing to do something, but you won't do that when you're watching a video. You might do that after the video is done. So that is what a channel behavior is all about. Every channel behaves differently. And at the end of the day, your core marketing and brand planning is not something that anyone can take away from. So, jodi tomake keu eshe bole there is this magical method through which you can get everything done, it doesn't work that way. There is no magic, there is only hard work. And you basically can do a lot of stuff with this. Skip this, I'm going to skip this one and what you can do is basically remarketing. একবার একজনকে একটা কিছু দেখালেই যে সে সব বুঝে যায়, ব্যাপারটা এত সহজ না। So remarketing is the example that I just shared. You show them something, based on the first communication, you do something the second time, the third time, the fourth time, until you get a conversion. Alright? So, and this is where digital plays a massive role. Data is the king of everything, and analytics is what Taqi is going to talk about. Or just to make fun of him, I would have called him Taqi or anything else. I don't know what to do. Saqif na Taqi? Shofiqul is an easier. So, well, I actually once forgot his name. Somebody asked me who's the director of IT. It was a teacher, and I wanted to say his other name. I didn't, thank God. Anyways, so data is everything. This is where we know that if if you watched a video for 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 20 seconds or 30 seconds, and based on each of those interactions, I can actually give you more information. If you have watched one of my communication till 90 seconds, I know that you are invested behind it. So based on that, I'll give you more communication, more elements, more things. And that is how data works. So I'll just show you one example now. Thank you so much for your time. Your name ki? Araf. Thank you for a big hand for Araf. There we go. So this is the Facebook Ad Manager. এখানে তোমাদের সবার অ্যাক্সেস আছে. The link is facebook.com/ads/manage. So all of you actually have a Facebook ad account. You just don't know about it. So I'll take a small example যেটা নিয়ে আমরা প্রতিবারই এসে কিছু কথা বলি. সেটা হলো what if I was a small brand based in NSU and wanted to target people of NSU. So let's pick a particular product. আমাকে একটা product বলবা কি? Something that NSU students might buy. No. Something that only NSU students might buy. Okay, fine. So let's say that we have created a particular backpack which has NSU branding on it, or it actually has not a power bank. I was actually thinking of insulting things about teachers that you say behind their backs. Yeah, so they would not know about it, but it would be a private joke between you guys. For instance, there was this one teacher who was named Poldu in our days. And say if we were to make a backpack, the backpack would have this big giant Poldu on it. Yeah. So say let us do something like that. That we have created something that is only relevant to the students of North-South University. That is so targeted that it is not relevant to anybody else, because nobody else would actually understand the joke. Right? Yes. 5 minutes it is. How would you identify that particular audience? I'll just show you. The first thing is you put up this pin. This pin is something that you put up in an ad manager. This pin right now is on top of North-South University. Okay? So your geographic location is this 23.85 something. That's your geographic location. And it targets a 1 mile radius surrounding that pin, which basically gave us a very large group of people. But let's see. So that basically lets us target a very large group of people. But how else do you filter this out? কারণ এখানে এই বসুন্ধরার আশেপাশেও কিন্তু প্রায় 1.5 লাখ মানুষ থাকে. How do you ensure that we are only targeting North-South University and current students at that age? So first is age, so you limit it to 18 to 25-year-olds. Then you put up some additional interests like North-South University. Then you can put up even more interests and behaviors like people with smartphones, people with particular smartphones, people with iPhones. For them you preserve the really expensive bags and so on and so forth. The point that I'm trying to make is you can customize this to your heart's degree in terms of location, area, everything else, and then make it work for you. You need to play with this because you will find a lot of fun with this. You will find a lot of things that you can put in reports. You can literally say what type of people in what area is actually interested in what. And you can say that. And utilize that in the things that you use. Data is something that is very hard to come by in Bangladesh. This is where you can utilize this in a moment. So right now that is giving us a total audience of only 24,000, which would require around $20 to advertise to. But that's great because $20 is not a lot of money. that's essentially 2000 taka per day to reach to this particular audience, and they are the only audience who will actually buy your product. Therefore, that makes your life a lot easier. Alright? So thank you so much for your time. And
Alright, so I guess the idea is, so you guys actually saw an overview of marketing strategy and a bit of a tacticals through Dravid Bhai's presentation. And the idea is you cannot really, as Ravi said, you cannot really get a total grasp over it overnight. Especially when somebody is showing it to you, it's not easy to become an expert just like that. If you have a cousin or a friend who's selling through Facebook, if you have a store yourself, go in there, get your hands dirty, and get as much practice as you can, right? And only then can you become an expert through years and years of practice and repetition. So now, as a brand manager who is actually doing advertisements on Facebook or through other social media, websites here and there, what do you do with all the data that you get? And how do you actually ensure that you're getting the data? And that's the kind of overview that our dear Taqi would actually talk about. And at the same time, he would also give you a brief overview on Google Analytics and how to use that. And can we please welcome Taqi?
Hi everyone. So, thanks Rahman for sharing the insights. Now, as Bhai was talking a lot about this, data is the king. See, this is where we come from, that Google Analytics, they understood the concept of data is the king long, long back. And they have made this portal, Google Analytics portal, which is one of the most easiest things to work with. Frankly speaking, like, I'm not even a digital marketing guy. I come from operations, finance, and statistics background. But what happened is like over the last few months and over last year actually, I was looking into this area of digital marketing, specifically digital analytics, the concept of analytics and digital analytics. Now, so this presentation today is a very short overview of what you can see in Google Analytics and the possible questions that you can answer using Google Analytics for a real website. Now, the example that we'll use is based on a website on Google Merchandise Store. They sell t-shirts and Google merchandises. Besides that, I'm also working with an organization you would know, 10 Minutes Crew. So I have literally blackmailed Rahman on sharing his Google Analytics account. So I can even show you some insights from there as well. And that's something that I work on at this point. He has asked me to work with Google Analytics account for 10 Minutes Crew to give him insights on the type of people who view his website. So before we go details on Google Analytics, let's actually talk about what analytics is. Like, we see this word being thrown around a lot these days. Analytics is a sexy job, cool. But what really do we mean by analytics? So, basically, from 1990s, or even from 1980s, when we were like, formalizing the sales process, people started collecting data, lots and lots of it. So, from any single purchase point, whether it's digital, or even if it's like not digital, hands-on, brick and mortar, we can get a lot of information. For digital, we can get comments about our products. Say I'm a restaurant. So I can get information about how good my restaurant is. Food bank ke manushjon chhara regarding comments, right? So we can find comments from there. We can find information about the user. She ki dhoroner interested, what sort of products he like, what sort of things that he order on a regular basis. Very easy to find that out. Information on his gender, location, which locations does he go to, even habits. We can find many more actually. And at the same time, we can find out his transactions. She ki 500 taka 1 taka note pay kore? Or does he actually gives me 1000 taka notes, jaka naki change korte amar mane mejaj kharab hore jay. So, which one? What sort of transaction pattern is it? Does he pay by card? Does he pay by EMIs? So all these things are available, and these has been available for a very long time. Digitally recently, but in brick and mortar for a very, very long time. Now the task is to collect this information, and what we want is insights for our users, which can be converted into profit, which makes both my user happy and me definitely very happy. So the task of converting this data into this insight, a questionnaire answer, comes from analytics. That's why analytics has become popular. Like now that we have massive hairballs of data, massive repositories of data, we would want to convert this to that. And that is why we need to ask the right questions. To actually get good insights, we need to ask our data the right questions. We need to collect the data which is already collected there, most of the places. And finally, we need to analyze the data to get into these insights. Now, the thing about digital analytics is something we call the digital purchasing funnel. It's three steps. First of all, is something we call acquisition, followed by behavior, followed by conversion. Acquisition is where someone gets to know about my page. When you're talking about digital analytics, we're talking about analytics in relation to e-commerce portals. Analytics like business done online, simply put. So someone needs to know about my pages. People need to understand, I do have a website, and that person is interested in my website. But then again, a lot of us know about websites, but don't visit it regularly. We know about, ICT Ministry website, right? But we don't make a habit of visiting it every day. It's not that really interesting. Other than the day when some Indian hacked it. There was a day when an Indian hacked that website. I think in retrospect to the Pochatnang Holi. So that happened once. That day, a lot of people visited that website. Now, behavior is when someone actually interacts with your website. Watches a video, looks at a how-to-do thing, or clicks at a product description. But that's not getting me money. What's getting me money is what we call conversion, where someone actually buys something from my website. Now, the beauty of digital analytics is that things have simplified so much that if you just connect your website to any analytics portal, you can collect data on each of these stages. You can collect on what type of people are coming to your website, what type of people load your website, how do they load it, are they typing their URLs, or are they searching, which keyword are they using to search, all these things. You can see behavior, where you can see how long someone's spending on the website, what are they doing, all this information. And not only that, you also see the conversions. And the best part is you see literally from someone visiting your website to someone purchasing it, every single step, and how many people are actually dropping out on these steps. Now, if you know this information, how does it help you? Anyone from here? How does knowing this information on how many people have an acquisition, behavior, and conversion, how does it help?
You can customize your ads.
Simply put, I can find out problems in our e-commerce portal, right? What if I have lots of people having an acquisition and lots of people having a behavior, but not many conversions? What does that mean?
Product has some problems.
Maybe product has some problems, or maybe my website has some problems. Or that's something we do a lot nowadays. That most of the time what we do is we buy physically. But we check it out online. Online price is idea price So this will give me an idea that many people are actually doing that. They're skimming through the net, but buying it on the store. Not having a conversion to the website itself. So this is what data can give me, the whole conversion process. And not only that, the data can give me information about each age group, each interest groups. I'll actually go to the details of our data very soon. My presentation is actually very short. So now, what Google Analytics does is you can easily create a Google Analytics account. That's basically creating a Google account. If you have a Google account, add Analytics with a password, that's it. Now, you have to generate a tracking code, which is a JavaScript tracking code, but that's again, a very detailed steps of everything is given there. In fact, you have a handout with you. The steps on, the links on following those steps are given in the handout. Plus, you will have the links in my slide as well. And I use a similar format as Rahman does. My slide is exactly this. bit.ly sqi_ga. So do it, and you'll find my slide share link, where you can download the slide as well. So the steps are given there, and then you need to add the tracking code to your website. To any website you want to collect the data. But you need to have access to the code of the website, which means that either you own the website where you can add the code, or else you have to ask the owner to add the code for you so that you can start collecting the data. Now, a little bit technical is that how Google Analytics works. What GA does is it collects information, technical information such as the type of device, such as there's someone accessing through a laptop, a tablet, or a phone. How would that information help?
Is actually how
I can customize my design based on, because a lot of websites, you'll see in Bangladesh, look at a lot of Bangladeshi websites, like the rudimentary ones, you'll see that they have the websites, laptop websites, but they don't have customized websites for the mobile. Whereas what if I see that a lot of people are accessing through cell phones? So, then again, it gives me information on user information demographics, such as age, gender, interests. It gives me acquisition information, like which source are they coming from? Are they searching my website? What keywords? Are they coming from YouTube? Are they coming from Facebook? Are they coming from Twitter? All these reference. Then again, behavior, like how long are they staying in my website, on average? Which group is staying longer? Which group is staying shorter? Then again, bounce rate, a topic which comes up a lot in analytics, is bounce rate is you click on my website, but then they feel like, not interested, switch. So within 5 to 10 seconds, you quickly shift to somebody else. Now that's what we call a bounce rate, that you bounce out of my website. That information can be very important. Then again, there is something called goals. I can set goals on someone coming to my website, someone purchasing a product and checking out. So it gives me information at every step on how the goal is being processed. So that's what Google Analytics does. Now, one of the things about Google Analytics is from the collection date, it will give you all this information. Before collection date, you can't get any information. Well, that's sort of common sense. Tracking shuru korar aage ja hoyeche, you really won't be able to recall that. But after you started tracking, you can get all this information. Now, that's a simple introduction there. I'll actually rather go directly, enough of the speech. Let's get our hands dirty. Let's actually look at what Google Analytics can do. So, we'll look into Google Analytics page for the Google Merchandise Store, and we'll try to answer these following questions, as well as we'll try to get an overview of how the analytics portal looks like. So, this is the page. Now, people at the back, I'm unfortunately not sure that whether you can see this or not. There are some sits in the front you can cover up. And I know that even if you are not interested in this, you can look at it, might interest you a little bit, so try come up. There are some chairs over there. Let me zoom it a little bit as well. Yeah, that's the best I can do. So now, this is the simple view of the analytics account, where this is what we call the summary dashboard, where you can see that we have around 15K users. The Google Merchandise Store has around 15K users for the last 7 days. More interesting stuff is what you can look in real time, what's happening right now. So yeah, this keeps on changing. This says that I have 6 visitors right now. But this store is based mostly on America and Canada. So right now is not really a very good time for them to visit. Like, they're mostly sleeping. But still I have, 7. So I can get an idea of how many active users there are. Besides that, active users, I can also get an idea on, who are coming from these active sources, even the locations, like which are the active locations. Which countries are looking at my website. So that's mostly America. I think someone from Australia is looking at it as well. Someone from South Korea. We can do the same stuff for other websites as well. I have a few other websites connected to my account. One is the 10 Minutes Cool one. Let me share it as well. So, yeah, a lot of people. Saturday. So 80 people visiting the 10-minute website, 10-minute school website right now. Let's see how many people are actually from Facebook. Quite a lot. 15 people are coming from Facebook. These are the keywords they're searching at, like 10-minute school, Taqi Vishwavidyalaya Bhorti. We can even look at the locations. Let's see, mostly Bangladesh. Let's see. Oh, people from India, Indonesia, and Kenya. That's interesting. So, again, I can look at the same thing for my website. Well, I do have mine as well. That's basically for my courses here. That's going to be poor, 0. Yeah, exactly. Whoa! Yeah, that's achievement actually. So, moving on, that's real time. That's fun to look at, but frankly speaking, we can do much better. And better analysis from other sites, like other parts of the report, like audience. In the audience overview, we get information on the users. Like these are the users, 15,000 users, 13,000 new users, 18,000 sessions, number of sessions per user, all these data. So this gives me, over a certain period of time, you can select the time, say, for a month, let's say, today's 4th. So from 4th July to 4th August. This is the information I have. For a month, I have 65,000 users, out of them 60,000 new users. Now, analytics is a very interesting way of finding out the new user. What they do for Google Analytics is, every time you load the page, load any page, they download a cookie for you, a browser cookie. Now, as long as you are not clearing the cache in Firefox or clearing all cookies in Chrome, as long as that cookie is there, it will recognize the next time you enter as a returning visitor, not a new visitor. But if you keep on clearing your caches all the time, unfortunately, every single time you enter, it will be counted as a new visitor. So that's how they calculate returning and new visitors. And these are the summaries. But we can actually do much more than the summaries. Let's actually take a look at the questions we can answer. The first question was, which age group of users are dropping out of the store page most of the time? So I would want to know that out of my users, which age group is not staying in my website? Which age group is not happy with the website? Or maybe the products that I offer in the website? The answer, very straightforward, would come from, see, from the audience we have demographics. Demographics would give us overview of age and gender. So these are the age groups for visiting the website. That is the number, that is the gender who's visiting the website. Technically, yes, more males than females, specifically because it's a gadget site. So it has been statistically proven that guys are more into gadgets. So we can actually do better. In the age page, yeah, there you go, these are the different ages, but here, these are the different groups, and I'm interested in the question that which age groups are dropping out of the store page? So maybe the bounce rate, the people who are visiting and going away. So that bounce rate information is here. So clicking this would order it descendingly. Double clicking it would order it ascendingly. So let's order it descendingly to see that what group has the highest bounce rate. So, old people, they don't really like Google products. Not really surprising, is it? Something like not counterintuitive. Like you won't expect your grandfather to go in and buy a Google Map or a pen drive. So, answering this question, how does it help? How does, as a marketer, how does answering that question help?
Get just specific target audience.
Exactly, specific target audiences. As Rahman and I were talking about it, that you have to modify your advertising approach, your advertising campaigns, based on different interest groups, based on different age groups. This information, data is the king. It gives you not only a hunch. See, the way I come about in analytics is that intuition is good. I always say that intuition is good. When you have a good marketing intuition, that comes from experience. But if you could back your intuition up with data, no one's blaming you for that, right? It's further foolproofing your approach. That's what helps in analytics. So I can get the age here, I can get the gender as well, the gender details. For example, I have this theory that only guys visit my website. I don't know why. It's just that Sadly, I've tried to make it as female friendly as possible, but still, males, yeah, there you go. Females, oh, 68, that's a lot, increased. Mostly it's 0, but it has increased over 1 month. So now, that's demographics. The next is interests. Again, interests is a very interesting way that GA finds out these interests. It finds out these interests based on your browsing patterns. Most of us are using Chrome these days, and Chrome is Google's, right? So, your browsing patterns, they categorize you into different interest groups. And it gives me an information what sort of people are visiting my website. For example, these are different categories of people who are visiting. Shoppers, 4.5% shoppers. People into the employment segment are visiting my website. Not only that, I can actually ask, again, specific questions. Like for people who spend most time on my website. What is the common interest? That is easily findable. What we go is, we go for affinity categories. And here, we look at a term called session. So session or average session duration. Average session duration is the amount of time someone's spending on my website. Let's rank it. Let's rank it from higher numbers to lower, so in descending order. So for a month, our ranking, like 3 minutes, nearly 4 minutes is spent by thrill seekers. Then second group who spends a lot of time is role-playing game fans, foodies, auto enthusiasts. These are groups of people who are spending a lot of time on my website. How does knowing this information help?
You can put up that.
Yeah,
exactly. I can customize my ads based on these interests. I can do the similar thing for market segments. Again, I can do the ranking there. Average session duration. There you go. Computer geeks, education kids, consumer electronic and mobile phone people, they are the ones who are visiting. Again, easily possible. All I need to do is, these are interests. The geo section gives you language information, like which languages are visiting, browsers from which languages are visiting, and also the location. Here, the location heat map, and these are the countries. Oh, that's my website, sorry. I was surprised that why would Bangladesh visit multi-user watch? So there you go. So if I look into the revenues, say, in terms of revenues, it's Canada. We're the second most revenue generating country for this website. So again, this information might help me to have ads or campaigns targeting the Canadian audience as well, because they're the second most right up to the US. These are just clicks away. You can see that I'm not writing any complicated stuff or writing any codes either. I'm just clicking and getting all this information. Even for my website, I'm getting this information just by simple clicks. The only thing that I need to do is generate that tag and put it in my website code. The rest, I leave it to Google. So, what else? There are information on behavior, like new versus returning people. Then again, like this many are new visitors, this many are returning visitors. Then again, we can find out information on technology, like what browsers people are using, browsers and OS, operating systems. So these are information on the browsers and operating systems. So I can even ask questions like these. Say, which device has the lowest sessions? So I can look at the devices people are using to access my website and find out that which devices are being used less. So all I have to do is go for devices. And here you go. So the question is which device is the lowest sessions? So I just do this ascending order. So these devices, the Acer devices, are not that really popular, and people from Acer devices are not accessing. I could rather see that in terms of new users. iPhone and iPad are getting me the most number of new users. So maybe if I have an Apple Store app for my merchandise store, might be a good idea. Or my websites should be catered towards more of an Apple audience. Although I'm a Google website. So these insights can help me in my decision making. Besides that, say for example, between users coming from Facebook to YouTube, who stays longer in my website? How does this information would help? I think I was already covering this, that what areas of ads to show. This can give me an idea like, should I show a YouTube ad or go for a Facebook ad campaign, right? Let's find that out. All we have to do is go for acquisition, which gives me an idea of from where people are coming. And so from acquisition, I can go for social. Yep, there you go. These tells me the percentage number of sessions coming from different social referrals, such as YouTube, Facebook, Quora, Google Groups, Twitter, Google+, all these. So even Twitter is less than Facebook, but the highest is YouTube here. So this can give me an idea of if I want to spend on a certain referral media. It might be YouTube or Twitter that we should go for. Sorry, YouTube or Facebook that we should go for compared to Twitter. So again, getting the data on where to spend, how to customize my ads, which areas to design my campaigns on. I can actually do better. Look at the next one. In terms of user experience. One very important user experience is how smoothly you're capable of doing your work now, getting your work done, getting the conversion done, getting your products bought. So based on that, which websites pages have most people leaving the site? Which website pages are taking too much longer to load? I can even find that out. Very easy, very simple. What we do is we go towards behavior and we have site speed, and we can look at the page timings. Here, it tells me that this is the middle line, which is the average time it takes for pages to load. The red ones are taking way too many times to load, way too much time. And the green ones are lesser times. So this gives me an idea of which web pages are taking too much longer to load. This might cause user dissatisfaction. I can also do the same thing for site contents, where I can get an idea of which pages users are coming to most of the time, and which pages people are spending a lot of time, say, average time on page. I can see that which pages, such as, yeah. So the Google Office Other Home, that page, people are spending the most amount of time, 13 minutes in a website page. That's a huge thing. So there has to be something special there, which is why people are spending so much time there. I can find that out. I can also find out that why in pages, which I really want people to spend time on, say my main products, the ones that get me the biggest revenue, why people are not spending time in them, or how much time they're spending. So that's another question I can answer. The last question that I can answer, these are just a few questions. You can answer many other questions. So another question that we can answer is, are there any pages in your website which is taking abnormally long time to load? This I've already showed you, which is in the site speed. Page timings. This is the overview. So here, this page, this shop by brand YouTube, this is taking way too much time to load. So I might ask my web designer to go and check this website, like why this is happening. Check the plugins, check the code. So these are only few answers that I can get from an account in Google Analytics. Now, my point is that it doesn't take much to start this up. You only have to create a Google Analytics account, connect it with a website that you have, or with a website that you can get permission to connect it to. Or you can just start with the Google Merchandise account. This account is available to anyone who creates an analytics account. That's it. This was given free to me as well. Play around with it. You'll get a lot of insights. See, the beauty of analytics, I'll actually take two more minutes on that. So I'll share a story with you guys. This is a story I tell my statistics class a lot, like the power of statistics. Have you heard of this store called Target? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a supermarket chain. So in Australia, there was this case against Target. The case was Target sends coupons, personalized coupons to people's homes. Like weekends, coupon if you go to the store, you get discounts. So this guy complained against Target. He sued Target, saying that তার বাসায় একটা 17-year-old teen আছে. She's a girl, 17-year-old girl. She's a minor. Target pregnancy products advertise on products. He was furious about it. Why does Target want my 17-year-old girl to be pregnant? So he sued Target. Guess what? He actually lost the suit. He actually lost the case. Why? Because what Target does is Target has this information on its customers, on all the patterns. So what Target does is it noticed that the girl's purchasing pattern made her susceptible to be pregnant in 6 months' time. They were statistically 82% sure. While this case was going out, the girl was actually found to be pregnant. So the headline was that Target is better at spotting pregnancy. So if you ever go to Australia, don't buy products in Target. You are at risk. That's my advice. You don't want to get caught by Target like this. They might even email a coupon to your dad. So given that, this is the length of predictive power you can go to nowadays. And that's 2012. This is 2017 we're talking about. Imagine how much we can. I'll give you an example, very simple example. Recently Facebook has been bothering me a lot with suggested ads regarding Marvel. Because last few days I was Googling up a few things about the next Infinity War coming up in Marvel. So I just Googled up 3 to 4 articles on comic concepts. And right now, I'm actually being flooded by Instagram and Facebook on all Marvel ads. Simple. It just recognizes my search patterns. And not only my search patterns, the fact that I'm typing Marvel in my phone is being recorded. This is the level of data we can get. So why act traditionally when we can get this data? Why not get it insights out? When it's as easy as like the clicks that I've been showing you. It seriously took me a few clicks to do it. So these are the steps that you can do to set up your account and to set up the tracking with the website.
So all the details have been given in a takeaway sheet, so you guys have it.
Yeah. And regarding trying these out, like I'm a faculty of North South, so I know that you have been in these type of workshops many times, and when you go home, you tend to
not do anything.
No, you tend to toilet it away by the next day. So my advice is you can always try. You can always give it a shot, play around with it. You have enough free time scrolling in Facebook, so you can still play around with it. I'm not expecting you to be perfect. I'm expecting you to try to play around. Which is why I end my presentation with a very favorite quote of mine. So yeah. That's
Alright, so at this stage, may I just call up here Tariq, Dravid and Saqib. In case there are any questions, the three of them will be here to answer it. Maybe for the next 5-7 minutes. And I'd also like to, at this point, thank a number of people for making this happen. NSU SSC boys, if you guys are here, thank you so much for the support. GBGS, all of you, the guest speakers, Omar, Ivan for being here. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, just start asking away, please. Don't feel shy. This is not an 8 a.m. class.
No, but it's near lunchtime, so.
You said that companies nowadays don't use taglines, right? They usually don't use taglines, so there is more stretch and more scope of modification. So in case of Tesla Model S and 3, they're not using any taglines, but they have a certain criteria that they are supposed to follow, right? So my question is, does that not disrupt the consistency and the positioning of the brand?
Very good question. Actually, this is another phenomenon. সেটা হচ্ছে যে আমাদের the way we deal with brands in Bangladesh is very agency driven. This is a total fallacy to the entire concept of brand management. Brand management is supposed to be something that is done from the center of the company. Bangladeshi brand building has been very much communication driven. And you'll notice that these change hobe. মানে সবাই এরকম transition এ যায়. The brand manager is supposed to be the one gelling everything together. So it's an internal in-house kitchen that should decide what a brand stands for, rather than some agency just proposing to say yes to it. So, ekhane challenge ta je how much authority are you willing to take internally as a brand custodian and really live by it. Tesla definitely they have an agency. Definitely they have some WPP group er kon ekta boro choro agency definitely ache or boutique agency is very highly paid kon সমস্যা নেই. But the philosophies of it remain within. So they are the ones who judge what content they would like to give out and what content they would. Jokhon that sense of purpose ভিতরে খুব strong হয় তখন really truly speaking tagline প্রয়োজন হয় because you already have those guidelines in your mind. Every employee knows about what's right and what's wrong. এবং যখন তোমার কাছে জিনিস আসবে you will know instantly যে এটা কি আমার ব্র্যান্ডের সাথে যায় কি যায় না and you translate that and cascade that to the agency through a brief. আমাদের কালচারে what I've noticed is brief দেওয়ার কালচারটা খুবই রেয়ার অর্থাৎ আমি যে ব্র্যান্ড ম্যানেজারকে লিখে বলে এক্স্যাক্টলি দিস ইজ হোয়াট আই ওয়ান্ট এবং সেটা এজেন্সিকে দিবে এই হ্যাবিটটা অনেক জায়গাতে পাওয়া যায় না বিকজ উই আর ব্লাডি লেজি উইদিন দ্য কোম্পানি অ্যাজ ওয়েল বাট দ্যাটস ইট আমি কিন্তু এই কথা বলিনি যে ট্যাগলাইন প্রয়োজন পড়ে না প্রয়োজন পড়তে পারে বাট গ্র্যাজুয়ালি দিজ আর দ্য ট্রেন্ডস দ্যাট উই সি যে আলটিমেটলি প্রিন্সিপলস অফ রানিং দ্য বিজনেস দ্য প্রিন্সিপল বাই উইচ ইউ ডেভেলপ দ্য প্রোডাক্ট অ্যান্ড ডেলিভার ইট become more of a brand promise than the tagline that you put at the end of it. That's the sort of conclusion. That's the way it is.
Just complementary this part. I think we have discussed that in the class. The way you see, especially in terms of consumer electronics and IT companies, the content. I mean, it is very true. It philosophically made sense of it that we don't need a tagline. But what you are constantly being fed through different social content, through Mashable, through Business Insider, what they're talking about those brands. And these all efforts are absolutely not unpaid, right? But the format has been changed, the thing is there. It's not with the form of it.
Good question.
Any other question?
Gee.
Sir, I had a question.
Which sir? There are three of them here. Third.
Sorry, nobody ever calls me sir.
How viral is digital marketing in Bangladesh? Like so many people don't have the internet accessibility.
It depends on your product. তোমাকে যেটা বলছিলাম এই মুহূর্তে এসিসি এর ডিজিটাল পেনিট্রেশন ইজ अराउंड 67%, এসিসি বি এর পেনিট্রেশন হচ্ছে 68%, বাকি সবারটা হচ্ছে কি বিলো 10%. সো এই মুহূর্তে তুমি যদি ডিজিটালি কোনো প্রোডাক্ট কিংবা কমিউনিকেশন নিতে চাও unless your product is targeted towards SCCA মানে SCCA is basically upper middle class, lower middle class এই তিনটা ইনকাম সেগমেন্টে যদি তুমি ধরো তাদের জন্য ডিজিটাল ইজ ডেফিনেটলি আ ইম্পর্টেন্ট মিডিয়াম বাট তুমি যদি রুরাল মার্কেটিং করতে চাও ডিজিটালও না টেলিভিশনও না প্রেসও না ইউ হ্যাভ টু লুক ফর সামথিং লাইক দ্যাট.
Yes. My question is to Taqi sir. So you said in your speech that companies have to redesign often according to your target customers. So perhaps my company is a startup and I don't have enough resources. In that case, what can I do?
That's you see, startup is a broad term, very broad term. So I would actually like to ask you, what is your business first? Before you say it's a startup. Startup means anything. So what is your business about? Restaurant. So let's say you don't have a lot of money. Basically, you will probably be starting with one restaurant, right? So first of all, what you would like to find is what kind of restaurant do you really believe in? So first point is that as a brand in itself, what is it that you're looking for? The second thing is you'll have to match whether there's a market for it. So like a restaurant that will sell only avocados. সবজি বিক্রি করবে, মানে সবজি দিবে। Maybe there's a market we don't know, but you have to assess whether there's a market for it or not. So market assessment is key. It's very simple basic principles of business. Identify what you're good at, see if there's a market for it, identify location which gives you maximum traction at the lowest cost, and set it up there. So এখন আমি যদি, and this is another key thing, is restaurant বা anything related to service delivery is very, and restaurant business, I've worked as a consultant in a restaurant chain, in fact, Bangladesh. The biggest factor that drives cost, because that's what you want to minimize, but it's the most critical element is the location. The location of a restaurant, that is very, very critical. And typically restaurant businesses, failure or success based on how expensive the real estate on which you're establishing the restaurant is. Over basically you can develop your business case based on that. If it becomes too expensive, your business will fail. And if you don't have the money and the price premium to actually cater for it, business fail for it. So if it's a restaurant business, location is one. Point number two is the pricing that you can get out of the audience that will be able to come and access your restaurant. So close proximity, the certain target group, accessibility, I'd say, amongst the target customer that you're buying or getting into. And definitely whether there's a demand for the sort of product or restaurant experience you're selling. 18th matching, it's not easy, but that's the steps that you need to fulfill to get to that. So startup, you have to identify what your business is before you say if it's a startup or a extension, whatnot. Business principles remain the same. Yeah,
Any more questions?
Everyone wants. I want.
Let's take 2 more questions, and then we can wrap up.
I have another question to Taqi, sir. So my question is, you have shown Google Analytics, and there are many things, and there are about businesses that is related to business to consumers. So perhaps my business is business to business. Perhaps my business is advertising agency. So in that case, how can I use Google Analytics to actually analyze all the information regarding my target consumers?
Well, the principles are the same. Basically, you need to have an online portal, e-commerce portal. So if your business is a B2B, which caters through the net to another business, all the principles remain the same. Your data will be a little bit less because B2C is like a huge volume. So your data would be a little bit less. So, but all the insights remain the same. So it's about who's visiting your website. So which businesses are visiting your website. That would be a good idea because in that case, you can also find out all those businesses, their pages, their presences through your analytics method. And you can target your offerings individually. So.
One more? Do we have one more question? If not, we're just...
Alright, I'll give you an answer. Since there is no question.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, what's your answer?
আচ্ছা তোমাদের যাদের ব্র্যান্ড বুক দেখার ইচ্ছা হয় just do a Google search. Actually brand books are available from big brands on the internet for free downloads. Just look for the search term brand books download. Yeah. That's it. Brand guideline, brand book, call them anything you want. You'll find a lot of big brands in all the countries. Intel, Foursquare, everyone.
Alright, okay, so thank you so much everybody again for being here, but one last formality before I let you guys go, which is just to show our appreciation to the 3 wonderful speakers who've been with us. I'd like to ask Omar to do us the honors and hand over the very first press to the very first speaker.
Sorry,
Tariq Abdullah. Thank you, Tariq. And may I request Mr. Ivan to please hand over the second crest to our second very prolific speaker, Mr. Dravid Alam. He's got very fantastic. And may I request Ehsan Bhai to kindly get the wrong one. To hand over.
I can keep that.
The very last press to Saqib. And I hope you guys are happy with your little goodie bags. At the very end, may I request everybody
come up front and I don't know, squeeze yourselves up here so we can all take a group photo. So.